You hear me reference this show on this show constantly, whether I do it on the talk show or the pregame show, the post-game show, in-game, whether I'm doing it on NBC Sports California, TV, radio, streaming. I'm talking about you all the time. And I've told you, it's been a long time. Really? I mean, one of the cool things is that we're back in the same spot. We got to really meet you. We've had you on the show, but we got to meet you last time in 2019, finally face-to-face. It's good to see you. It's sad that when we haven't been able to see you, but it's great to see you.
It's good to be back. Right, and you're also like on the leading edge, also a show on the vanguard.
Yes.
So you guys pay attention to the latest in the industry as we do. And I've been doing that all week with the Hall of Fame too. We just talked to Susan, part of the the inner circle of voting. So I find all that stuff fascinating, and it's great to see you too.
Yeah, the good thing, I mean, what we started here, and we're still the only team in baseball to do it, is mixed television, radio, with streaming video and audio. And that's why I think about your great show, MLB Now, which I reference all the time. Mm-hmm. I steal from you all the time.
Feel free.
I love it. You kidding me? I told you I got teenagers watching your show now. I'm helping your demographics.
Thank you.
So, I mean, that's the thing, and that's where our sport is going. And the A's have always been, as you know, from the history, going back from Philly, Kansas City to here, always leading a new – didn't always go right, but always trying new things. I've been curious about – we just talked about the Hall of Fame, and it's like, my God, I remember I was in high school in 1989, and the Pete Rose, Bart Giamatti signs off. We've had a black cloud around. I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame 3 times. It's amazing. But I'm thinking about the kids who are growing up now, and all they hear is he can't get in, and he can't get in, and he can't get in, and he can't get in.
Right.
More guys can't get in than can get in. And then now, you got Schilling with politics and everything, and then here comes Beltran now with cheating.
Yeah.
And that leads me to, my God, what, in 13, 15 years, we're going to deal with this with Altuve and Bregman? I mean, we're going to have this cloud of who can't get in for probably over 50 years with the baseball.
Well, and you're also going to have failed drug tests left and right. That's always going to be some sort of issue. It's a management thing. But you're right. That's what struck me with this Veterans Committee ballot, was it finally hit me that, wait a second, here's a chance to break away from this stuff. It's a constant, do you rationalize bad behavior? That's what it comes down to. Okay, you hear, well, this guy, he failed the test, but but he only failed one test and he was a great player before that. Or this guy, he never actually failed a test. Or I think Bonds and Clemens were great players when they were skinny before they got on this stuff. Okay, but no, and then Schilling, the same sort of thing. Well, is he as bad a person as he seems on social media? And the answer is no, right? He's a bit of a bore, but he's not that same guy. His social media persona is much worse than the actual person. Most everybody will tell you that. I know Kurt, he's not a bad guy, but on social media, it brings out the worst in him and in a lot of people, right? But all that to me, when I looked at that list, was everybody here, including Rafael Palmeiro, Albert Bell. You're wondering, can I rationalize bad behavior, or do I reward good behavior? And there was a clear choice for me: McGriff, Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly, to just feel good about baseball.
Yeah.
You're right. It hit me that, wait a second, here's a chance to feel good about baseball, feel good about the Hall of Fame, and not lessen the standards at all. Mattingly's the best player in baseball for 4 years, best hitter in baseball for 4 years. Del Murphy's the best player in the National League for 6 years. Not 1 year, not 2, not 6 months, 6 years. So to put those guys in, they're peak Hall of Famers. They're not they don't have the longevity, but very few guys actually do. I thought it was just this clear choice. I had the exact same feeling you did. Man, we're always having these ethical discussions. How about we just feel great about baseball? And there's a reason why guys like Mattingly and Murphy are beloved by their fan bases. They're everything that's right about baseball. I was really hoping one of them would get voted in. I'm thrilled Fred McGriff gets in. Excellent. So I'm happy with that. But this was kind of along those lines. Yeah, here's a chance. Can we feel good about baseball and not be talking these ethical dilemmas and they cheated, they did this and that, right? Beltran is next. Did you hold him to the fire? Tired of it, right? I'm much rather can we celebrate what's good about baseball? And with Fred McGriff, we can. I think in the future, Mattingly and Murphy should go in as well.
I grew up here in San Diego. I watched Dale Murphy on TBS. I had a
Yeah,
poster
right.
of Don Mattingly. Remember
was
the machine, even the pinstripe?
That's what it's like. Those guys were like Fred McGriff. I tried to explain. It's like, for kids now, like history gets condensed, right? As you get older, you look back and you say, hey, your vision of this guy, that was not the vision at the time. Fred McGriff was not some also ran. Fred McGriff was the man.
Yeah.
Fred McGriff was the man. And I did this. I hope you saw this on the show. I ran the numbers. In their 20s, Fred McGriff was every bit the hitter Barry Bonds was.
I saw it, yeah.
Skinny Barry was about the best player in baseball, if not the best, and yet Fred McGriff could hang with him. Runs created, all the analytics. Yeah, Barry was a better fielder, better base runner, but you know what? Fred McGriff was a postseason monster, and Barry Bonds had real issues in the postseason until he was on the stuff in his last year in the playoffs. So you want to tell me who would you rather have while they were in their prime? I would take Fred McGriff. That's over Barry Bonds. So I'm not making excuses. He's a nice guy. I want him in the Hall of Fame. No, he's as good a player, and without the baggage. So I would, if you remember and if you saw Fred McGriff play, you absolutely thought this is a big, big guy.
Oh, my God. He led the league in home runs in both leagues. No one had done that.
Right.
We hadn't seen
that. And every
that.
time there was a big, remember the trade deadline, he was the guy. Free agent market, he was the guy. He wasn't, it's like Aaron Judge is this year. That's the way Fred McGriff was spoken about on the free agent market.
Ask the Giant fans about Fred McGriff going to Atlanta.
What's that?
Remember when
he ran them down.
Oh, my
By the
God.
way,
Giant fans hate Fred McGriff because of that.
And he ran down Barry and the Giants.
Yeah.
Ran them down, beat him. He slugged, I think, 600. Did he have, I'm trying to remember the numbers. Like, was it 55 RBIs in 68 games?
Oh, he's a monster.
93, 94, 95. McGriff was dominant, but the strikes screwed up that year. He would have been the MVP. He was a beast in the 93 NLCS. I think he had like a 500 on base, slugged 700 against the Phillies. They lost, but he was a monster. And then when they won the championship, he slugged 600 at all three levels of the playoffs. The Braves do not win, even with all that Hall of Fame pitching, they do not win a World Series championship without Fred McGriff. Meanwhile, Bonds and Clemens were known as guys who had real problems in the playoffs. Do you remember that too?
Oh, yeah.
Until they
Ace fans know that about Clemens.
Until they were much later, and Clemens got reps with the Yankees and everything else, but who knows, he probably had help. Everything else, like suddenly, okay, these guys are playoff performers. But while they were actually playing in their prime, Fred McGriff was a much better playoff performer than those two guys who now I think the new generation looks at and says, oh, they're the greatest players in history. They truly were great. They were, if they had retired at 31, didn't do steroids, they still would have been Hall of Famers. I'm not denying that. But as far as they're held up as these all-time greats, and Mattingly, Murphy, and McGriff are nice little players. No, not true. Not true at all.
No, if you lived during that time, Donnie Baseball, as you mentioned, he was like Tony Gwynn, but the best power hitter.
With
the best power hitter. I know that we're not electing Mary Poppins into the Hall of Fame. And one of the reasons why, having worked in the National Football League, I know some of the best players aren't the nicest guys in the world. And I was saying, earlier, the greatest player I ever saw, Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor doesn't get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ray Lewis, for what's happened with him, doesn't get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Think of the other sport you love, the sweet science boxing. Mike Tyson or somebody, if it's baseball's morality, a lot of these guys don't get into these Hall of Fames.
You know what? I don't get – I look at this specifically. Baseball has the tradition and the history of a long-running, long-established Hall of Fame. And as it has been pointed out many times before, there's a lot of rogues that are in there, a lot of bad behavior that guys who are Hall of Famers, Ty Cobb, Rogers, Hornsby, right? There's a lot of guys involved in lots of different things. So it was seen at the time that, hey, we're kind of, basing it on the merits of their on-field play, except when you cross an obvious line. Do you know Shoeless Joe Jackson was never banned from Hall of Fame consideration back in the day, back in the 30s, 40s,
really?
and 50s?
I didn't know that.
It didn't even have to be said. Of course,
you
were not going to vote for Shoeless Joe Jackson. And I understand why they made the move on Pete Rose. I understand. Did it have to be forever? I wish it wasn't. But as far as these guys who actually, taking steroids isn't like, I don't know, you had like a DUI or had one bad day, or it's not like you took a pill one day. You're on a surreptitious regime year round to become a better player and get a competitive advantage. And you have to do it in the cloak of darkness. You must do it on your own, by yourself. You must do it without anybody knowing, and you have to lie about it the rest of your life. So we're going to honor that. Like, I know there are guys who did it, probably who are in already, but you can't stop everybody. But the guys who took the most advantage of it, look, they beat the system. They got paid. They got the accolades. They got the MVPs. They got the Cy Youngs. But this is about being honored, bestowed the highest honor in the sport. I liken it to, like, I understand if a cop joins a corrupt precinct, right, on the police department, and he's surrounded by guys on the take, and then he ends up being on the take too. I understand it, but I'm not going to make him policeman of the year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, there's a difference, and I know the new generation, the kids out there that didn't live through it, can look at it now and say, "Come on, everybody was doing it. You're going to ding this one guy?" No, 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 not everybody was doing it. It was wrong then. Ben Johnson was the biggest story in all of sports. It was 1988.
Google it, everybody.
Long time, the fastest man on the planet. Right, 1988. He was punished. It was like, oh, strip him of this, and he was shamed and banished and all that. It's 1988. So everybody knew it was cheating. They knew it was cheating. They beat the system. Doesn't mean you have to honor them.
All right, quickly, I know you only have so much time. We got some deals. DeGrom came down. Obviously, that's a lot of stuff's been going down the AL West, right? I mean, Verlander's now leaving, going to the Mets. Trey Turner gets 11 years.
Yeah.
What do you think so far of the meetings?
It's crazy. I mean, these are big, big deals, but we knew that. I think the competitive advantage, we're into that always. The A's, like the history of looking for competitive advantage. It's something that we call in economics return to scale. The best return to scale now is at the high end. I thought last year's best deals were Max Scherzer, Freddie Freeman, the high end guys. Normally each year I'm scouring the lower end guys. Like this year, I still like Mitch Haniger, Jurickson Profar, players like that. But where are you really getting the return on your investment? It's at the high end. Only 5 teams spend more than $200 million on their payroll. If you're one of those 5 teams and you are playing in a different neighborhood, you have less competition, actually. Like, how many teams can actually be speaking to Bogarts and Turner and Carlos Correa? Not that many. So you have a chance. Look, I thought that was what the 11th year was all about. Dave Dombrowski's in there saying, we can do this for this. It's massive money. Oh, they're going 9. We'll go 10. Oh, they went 10. This goes to 11, as they said in Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11. No one goes to 11. We just did. Boom, sign this deal. So that's what it takes. Like the big players, if your ownership says, look, man, I don't mind $200 million. We can push $300 million. You're going to be in the market for some of this prime talent.
Let's end on this. You have the most unique show in baseball. And what I love about it is people either love you or they're mad at you.
They're mad at me?
But you know what they're doing? They're talking about
I didn't know this. I heard this. No, that's all right.
They're talking about your show.
I hope so.
I mean, when you designed the show and what the show has become, is this how you saw it evolving, what it would be for us baseball fans?
I thought when I started this show on MLB Network, and I didn't even pitch for the show. I just said, here's all the things we should be doing. And they said to me, the brass at the time, do you want to do your own show? I was like, oh, okay, we could do all this. And at the time, remember, there's a real schism between the new age and analytics and the old school. Now it's all blended together. So I just try to do the smartest show possible. And I thought every TV network every sport would be doing a show like this. Like, how is like is a version of my show not in the NFL or the NBA? But okay. No one has that vision. So MLB Network had that vision. We do this show. I call it for the thinking fan. But I'm rooted in the real world. You know that if you watch the show. And that's what I'm talking about. Character and guts and grit. But there's ways now that the vocabulary is a little more expanded where I just mentioned Jurickson Profar. Grit, guts. How's his process at the plate? How are his at-bats? How many pitches does he see? How's his contact? How's his discipline? How's his swing percentage? We can measure a little bit of these guys who actually grind it out. Like the old phrase would be, this guy's a gamer, he grinds it out.
Yeah.
We can quantify that a little bit better. But you first see it with your eyes. You'll watch a guy like Profar, another Padre, Hassan Kim, and you'll say, I like this guy's process. This guy battles at the plate. And then you start looking up the numbers and you find it's valid. So that's what I do. And I expected the rest of the industry to do it, but I don't know, not everybody's equipped. It's hard work. But it's the way I view the game. And I think most of the industry now views the game in exactly that way.
I watch it every single day. I can't tell you how many times I'm pausing because your graphics.
You have to slow it down.
I mean, this is my research right here. He doesn't come up as that. So when we take stuff every day, I mean, we want to be.
I like that. Get that full screen. Use that full screen.
I want to view us as not only entertaining, but one of the smartest shows in baseball. I think it's how we've grown and gotten better. And we use your show a lot. And
Thank you. I know. I
it's the
greatly
biggest
appreciate that.
compliment I can give you.
I met a woman today down by the coffee shop. I was with my producer. And she said, "Can I take a picture with you?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." She goes, "Although you are my nemesis." I go, "How am I your nemesis?" And she goes, "Well, you do the show for the thinking fan. I don't want to think." I'm like, "I'm your nemesis." But then we took a picture. I think she was all right. But that's what happened to me just here today.
Well,
I'm the nemesis. Okay.
The show works. It's my favorite. It's great to see you again.
Good seeing
Thank you
too,
so
man.
much.
Thank you. Great seeing you too.